Hello and welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, your go-to place for everything Rocket League with your hosts, K-Cube, AJ Binky, and Red. So lean forward, lock in, and get ready to go Boost Over Ball.
Hello and welcome back to the Boost Over Ball podcast. To listeners new and old, hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle K-Cube, and I'm joined today by AJ Binky. Quidditch is out. It's a great day. The World Championships are around the corner. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling awfully magical today.
Hell yeah. Well, it's we're so close to the World Championships, in fact, that this will be our World Championships preview episode. We will be previewing all the regions, all of the teams that will be going, kind of doing a little bit of not a deep dive, but like a medium dive into all the teams, like how they finished throughout the season, when was the last time we saw them, and then, you know, kind of our takes and on like where their stock is, on how we think that they will perform in the event, and we will give our predictions later. We'll give a winner, but we'll be doing the PDF Google Doc or Google Sheets prediction form like everyone else. So with that, we will jump right in and start out with our World's team previews. So these will go in seed order by region, and we're going to start out in EU. So our EU number 1 seed for the World Championships is going to be Gentlemates Alpine. Their worst finish this season is 5th through 8th, which they did in regionals or qualifiers 2, 3, and 6. Their best finish, they won the Copenhagen major, kind of came out of nowhere to win that major, and they got a top 4 in London. They lost to Falcons, who eventually lost to G2. Their most recent, RLCS caliber action was at the Esports World Cup, where they finished 9th to 12th. Most people, if you watched or have paid attention at all to the Esports World Cup, you know that they lost twice to Chiefs, including their second loss being getting swept by Chiefs, and that's Hunter Kaka and Jorias. So it's a little bit different than the normal Chiefs team, but still not a great showing for them. What are your thoughts on Gentlemates Alpine?
I don't really have any thoughts on Gentlemates. Like, they're good. They're gonna do good.
Yeah, I mean they're
I don't think they're gonna win.
They're a land. Yeah, they're a land.
They obviously have a chance, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean I think that they're part of the group. Like I think there's probably 8 or 9 teams that could have a shot to win the World Championships. Right, some better than others, but
yeah, for sure.
I think this is one of the closest World Championships we've had to date. Gentlemates is most certainly a LAN team. Some of their best performances have come on LAN, so hopefully, at least for them, the Esports World Cup was a blip on the radar. Maybe they were trying something different, and now they'll just go back to what they were doing before. But because of their most recent World Cup Esports World Cup loss, I think their stock is trending slightly downward. They're a LAN team, and they didn't perform on LAN, which is kind of what their calling card is. They're known for suffocating other teams and really pinning people in, and they were not able to do that against Chiefs, which is a team that did not even qualify for the World Championships. So I am a little bit lower on Gentlemates, but like we talked about a couple minutes ago, I think that they're one of the teams that certainly has an opportunity to win, and even if they're not the best opportunity, I think that they're still in that chasing group.
There's another chance I can call back to version 1 is like version 1 always played really well against teams that were really good, and then against teams that they're supposed to beat, they always struggled against. And I feel like this team, Gentlemates, is somewhat similar in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like they play down to up to the level of their opponents. They have had some really big wins and some really big losses. So I think that's a good comparison there. But you want to take us away with EU number 2?
Let's do it. Team BDS. Their worst finish is in Major 1, Regional 4, and Major 2, finishing 5th to 8th. And their best is a win in Regional 5, 6, and the Esports World Cup. And most recently, obviously, was the Esports World Cup. That was the most recent international tournament. and they are definitely trending upwards with that huge win in Esports World Cup, and they looked great against BDS. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny. They talked about it on Chalkedcast. Johnny Boy pointed it out, but Monkey Moon yet again seems to be peaking at the right time, heading into the World Championships, going into trying to win an event in front of a hostile crowd. They won the World Championships last time in Dallas. They won the Esports World Cup in front of probably one of the most hostile, biased crowds in Rocket League history. And they're headed back to North America again. Notably, when they won RLCS Season X, there were no fans, so they couldn't. He wasn't able to win in front of the home crowd. So either they just like playing against hostile crowds, or that's just the way it's kind of fallen for Monkey Moon and BDS. But they looked really good. A huge win over Falcons that I can't say a lot of people expected, but they certainly look to be in top form heading into the World Championship. So I'm excited to see how they can finish out the season and what they can do down the stretch.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
Number 3 in EU is Team Vitality. Their worst finish is 5th through 8th in Regionals 2 and 6, Major number 2, and the Esports World Cup. Their best result is they won Regional 4. Most recently, you would have seen them in the Esports World Cup. They finished 5th through 8th. They were swept by Gen G in the quarterfinals. Kind of a mixed bag from Vitality. They're still the defending world champions, right? And they still have every opportunity to compete and to win. They certainly have it in them. We've certainly seen them peak before, but it hasn't been a lot recently. Getting swept by Gen G doesn't look amazing. My stock outlook on them is neutral. They've kind of stayed the same, right? They, an early departure from the Esports World Cup. There's a lot for Vitality to prove and a lot for them to do to be able to win the World Championships. But, they are certainly one of the teams who's capable of doing it. Did you have any thoughts on Vitality?
They're good. Zen's good. They're going to do good. But everybody wants to see them lose, right?
I think so.
I sure do.
No more NA Zen?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, he could come back. Could come out waving the US flag again.
That would be wild.
Who knows?
Absolutely
That would be
wild.
That'd be hilarious.
It really would. But you want to take us away with our number 4 EU seed here? Yeah,
Karmine Corp. Worst finish this season is 17th to 24th in Regional 5, preventing them from making Major 2. Best results, they won Regional 1, 2, and 3, and they got a top 4 in Copenhagen. And most recently, Johnny Boy had a show match with Karmine Corp versus England, and KC took it 3-1. And the EWC Community Cup for Europe, they won over Jobless 4-2. And this is another neutral stock situation. Haven't seen Karmine Corp in an RLCS caliber event since Regional 6 the first week of June. They needed help to qualify for Worlds and maybe the biggest unknown in this tournament.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, we haven't seen them play an S or A tier, RLCS event since June. That's 3 months ago. They Vatira and Co certainly seem to be locked in, and Farah tweeted that they were working behind the scenes. They did not compete in the Shift Summer League, even though that did end up getting canceled. But they did not compete in that. They were not at the Esports World Cup. They I am intrigued to see what they've been workshopping in the meantime. I feel like they could come out and return to their number 1 in the world form, or I feel like they could come out and just fall flat. I feel
like they got to be coming out swinging.
I feel like they have to, right? It's Farah, it's Vatira, Rise, some of the most experienced LAN players of all time.
They got nothing to lose, right?
Right, but I mean, they just haven't played. I'm sure they've been scrimming. I'm sure they've been playing. I'm sure they've been doing something, but like
Yeah.
we haven't seen it. No, people haven't been
Nope.
talking about it. So like I feel like they're either going to do amazing or they're going to do really bad. So I am intrigued to see what happens. I'm intrigued to see where they stand compared to everybody else, but that's kind of why their
Too.
stock is like unknown, because we just haven't seen them in 3 months.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
But
Keep an eye out.
yeah. And then our 5th seed from EU. Yep, you heard that right. 5th seed. With anything forfeiting their spot at the World Championships, and seeds 2 through 8 in MENA being unable to field a roster to compete at the World Championships or being unable to go due to EU taking the most points from RLCS majors this season. The 5th seed from EU, Oxygen Esports, will be taking the MENA number 2 seed's place and will be the 5th team from EU, even though we've kind of talked about it, and Oxygen is, I think, bankrupt. Maybe, probably. So maybe it's Oxygen, maybe it's not. But Archie Oski Joyo, their worst finish of the season is 9th to 11th at major number 2 in regional 1. They did not make major number 1, and their best results from the season were a 2nd place in regional 5 and a top 4 in regionals 2 and 4. Their most recent action is RLCS Major number 2, 9th to 11th. They were a round 5, game 5 Swiss stage loss to Furia. That's what knocked them out of the tournament. For me, their stock is buy low. It's a team that didn't know that they were going to be in the World Championships a week and a half ago. They have a non-zero chance of winning. And they could throw a wrench into a lot of predictions. I think that they, if they come in peaking and popping off, I think that they could they have a great chance to make some noise. But, also if they fall flat, I feel like, the excuses are there. Like, hey, we didn't even know we were going to be competing in the World Championships, so we didn't really play for 3 months. Like, I feel like that's, or like 2 months. I feel like that's, I guess it's an easy way to fall back. It's like a built-in excuse that they have. But I am intrigued to see what Oxygen can do. I think they're a good team. I think certainly it's very possible that we see 5 EU teams qualifying into the top 8. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. But was there anything else that that you wanted to add about Oxygen?
Yes, there is. Winnie too, apparently.
Fair.
So first of all, hey, stop. Come here. Winnie. Hey. First of all, where were we at? Oh yeah, I feel like their chance of winning is 0. I feel like they don't have a chance. Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm not talking to the void after you DC'd or something.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Okay. So I feel like their chance of winning is 0. I feel like they do not have a chance. And I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Is there a reason that you think it's 0?
I feel like they're just not up to par with G2 Vitality. The big names. Like, yeah, they're top 8. But I don't think they're top 4. And I don't think they'll get top 4.
Okay. Well, I mean, like, you don't think that there's any world whatsoever where they could, like, maybe they get a Mickey run, maybe there's a bunch of region kills from EU.
I mean, sure. I guess I'll say low.
Fair.
Less than 2% I'll go.
Okay, I think that's fair.
And with that said, I want to talk about the EU 5th spot.
Okay.
What is it, MENA 2nd,
yep,
right?
MENA 2nd, yep.
So, in a case where this happens again, like next World Championship, NA gets the most points during the season. And if this were to happen again, NA's 5th spot, or like, say MENA or something drops out again.
Yeah.
That would mean NA gets a 5th spot, and there'd be 5 NA teams going to Worlds.
Yes, correct.
So, if that were to happen, what would stop NA's 5th spot from paying a different org from a different region like SSA to drop out and let NA's 5th in? The fact that it should be SSA's 2nd seed going?
Why should it be SSA's 2nd seed?
Right, it should, right?
No, Mina 2nd.
Right, I'm just using SSA as an example.
Yeah. Okay, fair.
So, SSA's whatever seed, lowest seed, gets paid by NA's 5 to drop out. And then SSA would just send a worse team.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like, well, the 5th NA seed right now is Redo's Magic Cheese. It was former Luminosity. There's not
Sure,
even an
yeah.
org that has that 5th seed.
Anyways, what I'm getting at here is I feel like this kind of can open up the possibility of the first seed that doesn't qualify in a major region paying the lowest seed in a developing region to drop out so they can take a spot. I get that there's 8 different teams in the quote unquote developing region in this situation, which is what caused EU 5th seed to open, which probably won't ever happen again, but it's a possibility, right?
I mean, I guess it's like, to use something that we've said before, I guess there's a non-zero chance. But
Yeah,
I still feel like it's just such extenuating circumstances where
I agree.
the team can't go for, whatever reason, and then all the other teams in the region have already made roster moves.
Yeah.
That's really like the bigger thing, right? Because like if they hadn't made
Right.
roster moves, then it wouldn't have been from another region. It would have been R8,
Right.
it would have been Bravado, it would have been ROC, it would have been
Yep.
Vision, it would have been, you know what I mean?
But the fact that this happened, I feel like even remotely opens it up to that in the future. And I kind of feel like that's an issue. But also the chances of that happening again are essentially 0. So like in reality it doesn't actually matter. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But
Yep, that's all.
fair. With that, we will jump over to NA. Again, in seeded order, the first team, the number 1 seed in NA is G2 Stride. Their worst finish of the season was top 4 at Esports World Cup, but that's a big asterisk. That's without beast mode.
I mean, that's not like actually G2's roster, right?
No, but that's like G2 Stride as an organization.
Yeah.
But with their roster that will be competing at the World Championships, Atomic, Daniel, Beast Mode, their worst result is 2nd place, which they achieved in Regionals 3 and 4 and at Major number 1. And their best results were a win in Regionals 1, 2, 5, and 6, and most recently a win at Major 2. Their most recent action as an organization was Esports World Cup. Like I said, without Beast Mode, they finished top 4 with NAS instead. With Beast Mode, it was a win in the London Major number 2. So, like, with that being said, like, in my opinion, their stock has never been higher. G2 enters Worlds as the reigning major champions, and they are arguably the best team in the world. Right now, expectations are sky high, especially in front of a home crowd. The only question that remains is, can they exercise the Dickies Arena demons that they got from last time around, falling 4-1 to BDS in the last World Championships at Dickies 2 years ago.
God, I hope so.
Me too. Oh my God, that was such a depressing way to end such a cool event.
Yeah. God, that was fun.
But with that being said, is there anything you wanted to add about G2?
So on paper, G2 just wins this event. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think
Right.
they've been consistent. Their worst result in an RLCS event is second.
Yeah. That's insane.
Sorry. Yeah, second.
Yeah. Yeah, on paper, they win.
Yes.
But also, that being said, they have the most pressure out of anybody, any team competing in this event.
It's hard to be the favorites for anything.
Yeah. Yep. So I think that's going to play a huge role. I think they're going to very much underperform because of that.
Yeah, I mean, you would hope for G2's sake that they can keep the ship afloat and perform like everyone expects that they should. I mean, they certainly.
I hope for Red's sake they do.
Yeah. Oh my God, I do too. He might we might just lose him forever.
Yeah.
But with that, our number 2 seed in NA is Gen G Mobile 1. Did you want to run us through that one?
Gen G Mobile 1 Racing. Worst finish, 5th to 8th, Major 1, Regional 5 and 6, Major 2, and EWC. Their best results, they won Regional 3 and 4. And their most recent action was the EWC, where they got top 4 after a sweep of Vitality. And their stock is obviously trending up. They are going to be playing with a home crowd, and they had a big result over Vitality, which absolutely helps boost.
For sure. I mean, I kind of, even though their results don't like really show it that much, I feel like their results were trending in a downward direction towards like down the stretch in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like with so they come out and they get second in qualifier 1, top 4, first they win 5th through 8th of the major, they win qualifier 4, and then 5th through 8th, 5th through 8th, 5th through 8th, 5th through 8th, for the rest of the season, right? So some
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate results for them, and not what certainly they would be hoping for down the stretch, but they do enough to get themselves into this number 2 spot in NA. They've put themselves in a position to have an opportunity to win a world championship. Their first round matchup will be against Team Power, which, they would like to think themselves the favorite in, and I would say that they are. But, I don't know that I've seen enough from Gen G, especially recently, over some of the top teams to say that they're one of my favorites to win a world championship, but I certainly think that they are capable of making, a pretty easy top 8 if they perform.
See, I think their chance of winning is better than Oxygen's.
I think so too.
Okay, good. We're on the same page there then.
But I'm just saying, like, I think, like, in my eyes, there's a world where there's 5 EU teams in the top 8.
I don't want to live in that world.
Neither do I, but it's very possible, right? Based on
for sure.
everything. But also, I do think, like, because there's 5 EU teams, there will be like region kills, right? So like there will be EU teams that eliminate other EU teams just because that's how Swiss works, right?
Yep.
So, but Gen G has as good a shot as So here's my question, right? Do you believe more in Karmine Corp or do you believe more in Gen G?
I have to pick KC.
Me too. That is also. Do you believe more in Gentlemates or in Gen G?
Gentlemates.
BDS or Gen G?
I hate this game.
That's what I'm saying. So like,
yeah,
you get, it's like, okay, well, it's not Gentlemates, it's not BDS, it's not Karmine Corp, Vitality.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, NA2 is maybe on the same level as like a vitality or an oxygen in their chances of winning, right? It seems to be like it's G2, it's the top 4 from Europe, and then Falcons, Furia, and everybody else.
Right.
So it's like they have a chance, but I don't know that they'll have their work cut out for them. Same with NA Zen.
Yeah.
But speaking of another team who I really like, I think they've been trending in a fantastic direction the entire season. I think they're a great team. I certainly think, again, non-zero chance of winning. I don't think they're going to, but I think we might see them in a top 8. That's Space Station Gaming. Their worst result of the season was 5th through 8th, and they achieved that in regionals 1, 2, 3, and 6, major number 2, and the Esports World Cup. Their best results are a top 4 in regional 4 and a second place in regional number 5. Their most recent action at the Esports World Cup was 5th through 8th after they lose to the eventual champs BDS. I think their stock is holding steady. They've been trending upwards all season. They're one of the most consistent teams in RLCS with, they never are, their valleys are not too low, but their peaks aren't very high. I think that they're a very talented roster. I don't know that they're, as top end heavy as a Carmine Core, a Vitality, a BDS, really any of the other top teams that we've been talking about recently, especially G2. So I see them competing for a top 8 spot, but just because of how close everything is in the World Championships, I really don't see them doing much outside of that.
I don't feel like I remember watching SSG play at all. I don't know why.
I mean, they play a really solid, like, even keel style of play. They're very defensive. They, make a lot of saves. And, LJ does his thing. He scores some really mechanical
I remember,
goals.
yeah, I remember thinking, like, wow, LJ is ridiculous. But, like, I don't know. I guess I just don't ever pay attention to Space Station, which is weird because they do really well.
I mean, they're the team. They're like, especially this season, they're always there. They're there to capitalize on an advantageous matchup. Like when their top 4 at regional 4 was because they got OG in the quarterfinals instead of we've talked about this, right? SSG only loses to G2. Like 4 of their 7 losses this season were to G2.
Yeah.
So like they're there to capitalize on advantageous matchups. They're there to capitalize when a team isn't at full strength, but
they do it.
They're not going to be a team that's going to beat a peaking G2, a BDS that's firing on all cylinders. They're just like they're not that guy. So like, could they make a top 8? Yes. I could also see them, in a 9th to 12th situation, right? Because they're just, it's so close this year, right? Like, if Gen G peaks, I think that they're better than Space Station. But if Gen G's not peaking, then I think Space Station takes them. Like, is Furia going to show up flat? We'll talk about, some of the other regions.
Not a chance.
But I think SSG's a good team. I think that they have, every chance to make a top 8, but I'm not sure how much more they can achieve other than a top 8. And I would love to be proven wrong here. I'd love to have them make a top 4.
I'll have to keep an eye on them for sure.
Yeah. And then the last team we got going in NA is OG. Their worst finish of the season was a 15th to 16th in Regional 1, a 12th to 14th at Major Number 1, and their best result was a top 4 in Regionals 2, 3, 5, and 6. Their most recent result was a 12th to 14th at Major Number 2. And in my eyes, their stock is low. After a disappointing run of form in both majors this season for OG, I find it hard to believe that they will be able to make much noise in Swiss. Most notably, both of the majors they were out, outside of the top 8. This is a roster that in theory should be competing for top 8s, in my opinion. Some of 100%. The peaks for Nolly and JNaps are so high, but like we've talked about it before, if Nolly's not peaking, he's valleying, and the valleys are so low for them. So like, Calm is a fantastic player. If everything's firing on all cylinders, they're a dangerous, scary team. They're, experienced. They've been there, done that before. They're coached by Torment, a former world champion. They have everything, like the formula is there, but they just have not been able to get the right answer yet. So Maybe it's the World Championships. Maybe them, taking a couple months off in terms of playing in, like, they didn't play in Esports World Cup. Maybe it's, that was what they needed to unlock the roster. But, like, realistically, I don't really see them making a top 8.
Yeah, me neither. I really had high hopes for this roster, and like, it's not like they did bad, but I had higher hopes than how they performed.
Yeah, no, we talk about them like they're like terrible, but like they're
Yeah.
the fourth seed in NA. They're a great team. But
They're
like,
going to Worlds.
exactly, but I think that, like, unfortunately, like, going to Worlds is the accomplishment. I don't think anything really happens.
I know. Like,
Like-
it feels like they should just be doing better than they have with that roster.
Like, their first round matchup is against Furia. I don't think that's when they win. And then, like, I think you get a win over like a Limitless, a Gladiators, a Pioneers.
Yeah.
Something like.
I think they could beat Furia depending on which Furia we see.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I don't think they do. I think Furia is better than OG.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so I mean, we talked about it. Like, if number 2 NA is struggling to compete with number 3 and 4 of EU, then number 4 NA is like off a cliff. So, like, I think Oxygen has a better chance of winning this event than OG does, and I feel like that, like, and both of us agree on that one. And I think that kind of tells you everything that you need to know about OG.
But I hope I'm surprised.
Yeah, I'd love to be surprised. I'd love to see 4 NA teams in the top 8. That would be all the copium I needed forever.
Let's see. I'm hoping for a Mina Sam finals. Let's run it back.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, man, that was so close on that prediction. That was so cool. That would have been nuts.
Next up, we got OCE.
Right, let's move on.
OCE. You want to take us away with Power?
All right, so we got the OCE region. We got Power there. Oh, did you disconnect?
No, I'm good now.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so we got Power. Their worst finishes were 9th to 11th in Major 1 and 2, and EWC 9th through 12th. Their best results, they won regionals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And most recently, they finished 9th through 12th at EWC and lost to BDS twice in that. Their stock, high for emerging region, and they have been unable to do much outside of the region, but they have been able to make some waves beating Oxygen.
Like we talked about it at the last major, they were able to take down Oxygen in round 1, but other than that, they have kind of crashed out of every international event. Most teams from OCE have in this regard, at least. So, I think that they are one of the better chances OCE has of making a top 8. But, I still don't think this is the year that OCE makes a World's top 8. Secondly,
however, I think your predictions say otherwise.
Do they?
We'll have to wait and find out.
Oh, yeah. We certainly will. But our second team in OCE is Quick Trip Pioneers. Their worst finish of the season was 12th to 14th at Major 1, and their best results are a second place in Regionals 1, 3, and 6, and a top 4 in Regionals 4 and 5. Their most recent action was Regional number 6, where they took home second place. In my eyes, their stock is low. Pioneers have looked second to third best in a region dominated by Power, and if Power themselves haven't really been able to make a dent at majors this season, that really seals the fate of Pioneers if they haven't even been the second best team in their region. So getting consistently beaten by Power, and Power gets consistently beaten by most of the major regions, it just kind of seals the deal that most likely a 1 and 3 for Pioneers.
I want to see Pioneers knock out BDS in round 5.
That would be wild.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Won't happen, but
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
But with that, we'll jump over to Sam, and I will let you take us away with Furia.
Perfect. Furia. So, Furia, we got worst finish of the season, 5th to 8th in Major 1 and EDC, EWC. Their best results, they won Regional 2, 3, and 4 and got second in Regional 1 and 5. And their most recent action was EWC. They got 5th to 8th and got swept by the Falcons. And their stock is holding steady. They had good results in London and have allowed Furia fans to start to murmur. They have as good a chance as ever to win this Worlds.
I think so too. I think their roster of Yan, Lost, and Drafinho, the Brazilian group is as high as it's ever been. I think that they certainly would think of themselves as, you know, one of the favorites to win Worlds. I think that they're certainly capable of it. I think that, you know, you'll see a little bit more of our faith in Furia in some of our predictions as we go further, but I think that they're a fantastic team, and I think that they have a great shot this year.
I would agree.
Hell yeah.
Is Drafinho the only KBM pro?
I think right now, definitely at Worlds.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Kinda
But
crazy.
it is kind of crazy. Our second team in SAM headed to the Worlds is Team Secret. Their worst finish of the season being 9th to 11th at the London Major and 9th to 12th at the Esports World Cup. Their best results are winning Regional 6 and taking home second place in Regional number 4. Their most recent tournament action was at the Esports World Cup, where they finished 9th to 12th, losing twice to Gen G, being eliminated in the group stages by Gen G. And you know, their stock, for me, it's sell low. I find it hard to believe that Secret will make it out of the group with the amount of talented rosters that will compete this year. I think that there's probably 8 or 9 teams that are substantially better than they are. You know, can there be upsets? Can you know, the homie Brad, Mata, and KV1 upset some people? Yes, they certainly can. But Swiss makes it very hard for upsets to stick, and for, you know, some of the lower seeded teams to leave.
Do we remember what Brad's real name is?
Do we remember what Brad's name? It's Pedro Lima.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yep.
But
Secret start out their run against Vitality, so a little bit of a tough task for them. I unfortunately don't see them making it out of Swiss.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay. Now on to the one-team regions. Starting out, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but starting out with MENA, Team Falcons. Their worst finish of the season was 5th to 8th at the Copenhagen Major number 1. Their best results were a win in regionals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, completing a perfect season in terms of regional wins, and a second place at the London Major and at the Esports World Cup. They took second place at the Esports World Cup most recently, losing to BDS in the grand finals. To me, their stock is sky high. Fresh off back-to-back grand final losses, they are one of the best teams in the world, even if they have been one of the most unclutched teams recently, you know, losing 2 grand finals in a row. But I think they will rebound, and they will have a very strong performance in Dallas. I think that, you know, realistically, the floor for them is probably a top 4, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
I just think that they have too good of a roster to be held down, and I just, you know,
Yep.
Even if they don't win, I think that they'll still perform really, really well.
Yeah, I don't see them doing poorly at all.
Awesome. Well, you want to take us away with APAC?
APAC. We got a Gaming Gladiators. Worst finish of the season, EWC 13 to 16, and 12th to 14th at the London Major. Best results, they won regionals 2, 5, and 6, and most recently they finished 13 to 16 at EWC. The stock. These guys are a wild card. For regions like SSA and APAC, I think the rationale for a wild card is louder than ever. I don't think they have any chance at winning, and will most likely go 0-3 in Swiss.
I couldn't agree more. Like, when we were writing these, you know, the stock and like the rest of the Google Doc that we used to record the episode, I'm like, that seems really harsh to say out loud, but like it's true. I mean, I don't really see a world where
Yeah.
Maxi, Virtuoso, and Though are able to make much noise in Swiss. They were not able to at the London Major, and I don't think that they will be able to again. I think that it's like having a wild card, allowing the teams to compete against, maybe some like easier competition for a spot at the World Championship would make things much more even, I guess, is a better way to say it. But like realistically, I think like EU number 5 has a much better chance of winning than Gaming Gladiators do. So that's kind of why
Yeah.
I think that they are where they are.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
And then last but not least, we have Sub-Saharan Africa, SSA, and Team Limitless. Their worst finish of the season was 15th to 16th at the Copenhagen Major number 1. Their best results are winning regionals 1, 2, and 3, and coming second place in regionals 5 and 6. Their most recent action was at the Esports World Cup, where they finished 13th to 16th, and they were swept by Team Power. So their stock, again, wild card. They are still gaining experience. It's their second World Championships. They're getting a little bit more experience. They get to scrim and play in a more fleshed out ecosystem during their boot camp. But they also, again, don't have any shot of winning Worlds. Another reason the wild card should be brought back.
Yep.
So with that, is there anything else that you wanted to add on any of the regions, any of the teams that we have before we jump into a couple, maybe under talked about storylines?
Bring back groups for audience days at Worlds.
Well, I mean, it was announced that, and I think it should be like this for every event. I'm not entirely sure why this was ever a thing, but it was announced that every team will get to play in front of the crowd Friday through Sunday. They're going to do a couple of group rounds on Friday, a couple of them on, so we'll get to see every single team at the World Championships competing in front of a crowd, which I think is dumb that it's even a possibility that you couldn't before, but
yeah,
whatever.
The group stage crowd was super small, and I thought that was really fun. I mean, it was fun to go to.
If some people could make it for that, I'm sure that they would. Certainly, I don't know that it really adds that much time onto the World Championships. Instead of maybe you just do it Monday of the World Championships, but that's just me.
Yeah.
But so 4 storylines.
Just gotta throw that out there.
Yeah, I would agree. 4 storylines. What is one storyline that you are most looking forward to seeing, how it plays out, what happens from it?
Oxygen.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're EU 5th. Didn't qualify for Worlds. They're not expecting to go, and then this whole MENA thing blew up where the top 8 or whatever MENA teams can't participate in Worlds. So Psyonix, maybe it was Blast, whoever made the decision to send the EU 5th in place because EU had the most points total. So they're sending Oxygen now, and the players weren't expecting it. So Archie had 4 hours past 2 on Rocket League because he wasn't worried about playing in any tournaments coming up. So
they thought the season was over.
He just wasn't playing the game. Yeah, they said they thought they were done. So they are now, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out or whatever, and get told they're going to Worlds. So I'm curious as to see how this whole thing plays out for them. I mean, they got no pressure basically. They have all the excuses in the world to not perform well. So I'm hoping they do. And we'll see how it goes for them.
Fair. For me, it's got to be how G2 handles the pressure. I think that's a really obvious one, right? But for me, it's the blue wall. It's Karmine Corp. After they're 3 months out of the public eye, how do they perform? Are they rejuvenated and back to, their split one selves, or are we going to see, the team that crashes out of a regional and, doesn't make major number 2 and needed help to make worlds? So I'm intrigued to see how they perform, to see what their mental looks like, and to see how Farah has them either firing or not firing on all cylinders in, Vatira's continued quest to try and become a world champion.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
But with that, the prediction spreadsheet, people use like a Google Sheets to predict all the Swiss stages. And and we will be posting our prediction spreadsheets either later this week or the beginning of next week. But in the meantime, who do you have winning this event in the meantime?
Furia.
Okay.
Furia's taking it all. Furia beat Falcons in the finals.
I pulled Red before we started recording here. His response to shock absolutely no one was G2. And
I could have told you that one.
Yeah, no kidding. I think everybody could have told us that one. But for me, just to be different, I will go Falcons. I think that, maybe they break their streak of 2 major, grand final losses in a row. But if I had to pick a team, it's on the dock, so I have to say it. If I had to pick a team that was outside of one of the quote-unquote major regions, it'd be Power. So, I don't think Power will win, but you never know. That's why they play the games.
I was just going to let you sit in that one for a while.
I figured you were.
Yep.
But anything else you want to add on storylines, on predictions, on any of the teams we've talked about before we jump into overtime?
I'm excited. I'm excited for everything Worlds. It's going to be fun.
It certainly will be. So, we may have some more announcements about our presence at the World Championships. We'll let you guys know as the week goes on, and make sure to check out our Twitter and stuff for more content, and our Instagram to just stay up to date with all that we're doing and all of the things that get to happen that are going on at the Worlds. But Overtime is brought to you by the viewers, by you guys, from the questions that you leave in Discord, that you leave on Twitter, that you DM us, that we get to answer on the show. So this segment wouldn't be possible without you guys listening and asking questions. So thank you for sending those in. So our first question comes from @theDylan on Twitter. Who has the highest chance of making a sleeper run, i.e., who could win Worlds that's not G2, BDS, or Falcons?
Would we consider Vitality one of those top teams?
He said G2, BDS, or Falcons. So I would say any team that was not listed there is
all right,
fair
I'll go
game
Vitality.
For the question. Not Furia?
I mean, I'd throw Fury in with those 3 teams. So
I would. I think that's fair. I think Vitality's a good one. For me, it's.
I mean, to be fair, I'd throw Vitality and Furia in with those 3 teams.
You think Vitality?
And that's who I would.
You think Vitality over like Gentle Mates?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've been there before. They know
You're
what it's
right.
like.
Yeah. I mean, highest chance of making a sleeper run for me, it's Gentle Mates then. They've won a major. They looked fantastic at both majors this year. It seems like, every single time we come to an international event, it's like, oh, Gentle Mates are good, but they're not that good, right? Like, they're not going to do anything. And then they come out and they do something, and you're like, oh my God, Gentle Mates is amazing. Why were we why were we glazing them beforehand? So I'm going to just get out in front of it. I think Gentle Mates.
All right. So since you picked Gentle Mates and we're including those 5 teams in that list, then I'm going to go with Karmine Corp.
I think that's a fantastic one.
Yeah.
I feel like people have forgotten about Karmine Corp.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, up until major number 1 started, they were like far and away the number 1 team in the world. Like, it was not close. Yep. They were the best team in the best region, and like no one was going to tell anyone else otherwise, even T-Bates. and then like they lose. They have one unfortunate result in a regional. They don't make the major, and now everyone like completely forgets about them.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good answer. Okay, the next question, a little bit interesting, a little bit different, from Bel Air Baller on Twitter. Whose legacy would be changed the most with the World Championship win?
All right, so there's two easy answers here.
Yeah.
You take one, I'll take the other.
Okay.
Go.
Vatira.
Oh, I was thinking team. Okay.
Oh, why don't we do both then? Why don't we do one player, one team?
That's fair.
Okay, for player, I'm going Vatira. Vatira has, widely considered himself to be the best player in the world. And it's hard to compete in that, the GOAT or the best player in the world debate if you don't have a world championship title. And so I think with that, he kind of cements himself in that group of players that could, potentially argue to be the best player in the world, and also, potentially even start inserting himself into that like GOAT debate in terms of all-time Rocket League players.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
And did you want me to do my team next, or did you want to do your player, your one person next?
Go with your team, and then I'll do my team first.
Okay. My team would be G2. I feel like they've always been around. I feel like they're one of the most like consistent like mainstays in RLCS since its inception. I just feel like for the G2 army, for NA, for fans of the esport, I think that G2's legacy would be forever cemented as one of the best orgs in RLCS history with a world championship win.
All right, fair enough. Not what I was going with. So I'll give you both of my teams right off the bat. Power and Limitless.
That's fair. Fair. All right.
I mean, it would change literally everybody's perspective on an entire region.
That's
so I feel like it wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't be able to get more important change of legacy than that.
That's fair.
Player, I don't know. I'm not sure who I would go with.
It's kind of a tough question.
Yeah. I don't.
I mean, I feel like Monkey Moon could be a cool one because, it'd be his second world championship. I think Pharaoh would be. Pharaoh's not exactly a player, but Pharaoh would be another one. I think
I would have to go with Pharaoh. Yeah.
It'd be his second.
He was a player. I'll count it.
Yeah, but it'd be his second. And it says whose legacy would be changed most with a world championship win. It doesn't necessarily say. Say player.
Yeah. I'm going to Pharaoh then. Like that whole was it 930 tournament win streak he had? That was kind of nuts.
It was.
Top it off with another world championship.
Yeah. So I think those are good answers. I certainly think that if any minor region is able to win, that forever changes the landscape of RLCS forever.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good answer. And then the last question that we have is from @IamAlyssaB on Twitter. Who do you feel could be the underdogs at Worlds? Like who do you think is flying under the radar that has a chance to win?
All right, I feel like this is a similar question to the first one.
I think so too.
I'm gonna have a similar answer.
That's fair.
Karmine Corp.
I agree. I think that that's probably the right answer. So then maybe I ask the question a little bit differently. Who do you think has a shot to make top 8? I'm just gonna go top 8, right? Maybe they crash out in the quarterfinals, but like a team that most people are not expecting to necessarily make a top 8, who have the ability to do it.
I got mine. You go first.
Okay. I'm gonna go Team Secret.
Oh, okay.
I think, really it comes down to Swiss matchups, right? And Team Secret is going to play Vitality first. A win over Vitality, I find it hard for them to not find their way to round 5 at least. and then it's anybody's game, right? It takes one pop off, and like maybe the homie Brad carries them through. But I don't think it's a great shot, but I think that they do have a shot to make a top 8.
That's fair. So both of mine are NA. I thought you were gonna go with SSG,
Yeah, I think
and
that's
I was
probably a
gonna pick
better
the other
answer,
one.
which is OG.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
OG and SSG.
I think objectively those are more right or a better answer. I wanted to switch it up a little bit because I feel like we talked about SSG and OG having an opportunity to make top 8, but
Mhm.
like
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I like KV1. I think Brad's awesome. I think Mata certainly, has had his moments this season. So like it's very well, like they very could do it, but like I don't think that they will.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, OG pops off. They're gonna be hard to stop.
Like if it's like major champion Noli, then holy shit, they could make a top 4.
Right.
But like in Swiss, I'm talking.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we will
I
have
mean,
we'll have to wait and see.
I don't think it'll happen, but
Me neither.
they definitely have a chance.
Yeah, you never know. But
Yep.
was there anything else you wanted to add about any of these questions, about anything about the World Championships before we wrap up for today?
If you see us in Texas, stop us and say hey.
Yeah, we'll have stickers for everybody.
Yeah.
Lots of stickers.
Ooh, fun.
But with that, we'd like to thank you so much for listening. We'd like to please remind you to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, join our Discord, and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts, as it really helps us out. Also, make sure you check out our Twitch, our TikTok, and our merch store. New items have been added. All of these links and more can be found on our website at boostoverball.com. And from us here on the show, as always, remember to choose Boost over Ball.
Thanks for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website at boostoverball.com.